Yeah, I'm going to take that mile an hour advantage over Kyle because I started out with the disadvantage of having the off-road package. So that should have been my handicap anyway. So there we go. There we go. Hello from almost sunny Southern California. I'm out here for a very special event. Behind me you can see there are 3 Porsche Cayenne EVs. And myself, Kyle Connor from Outer Spec, and Mack Hogan from Inside EVs were selected to be the first 3 people to drive the Cayenne EV on US soil, outside of Porsche employees, obviously. We're gonna be doing a range test today. The 3 of us are gonna be hopping in these cars and driving them out into the desert. We had to find a route that wouldn't be too much traffic. It's hard to do that in California, but I think we have one where we'll be able to drive pretty much 70 miles an hour for the whole day, and we'll see just how far the Cayenne EV goes. Now, it's not EPA range rated yet. It's not available yet. It's not going to go on sale in the US for another 7 or 8 months. So there's a little bit of time for that. And these are prototypes, but Porsche did tell us that they're very close to production. They have the production tires on them, and what we get here today, they feel is representative of what the Cayenne will get in real world tests for production vehicles when they're in customers' hands. Range tests are always different. I say this every time I do a range test. You could drive a vehicle on 10 different range tests and get 10 different results. But here today, we're going to take these out and see what it gets in the conditions we have today, which I'll talk about as we're driving. This is not a standard 70 mile an hour range test like I usually do. The route has a lot of elevation change, which is going to hurt the results. We're going to be climbing, I think, 1,600 feet and then descending that much. So we will get a little bit back in that, but it's not like the basic 70 mile an hour range test that I usually do where everything's controlled. But this is going to be a good representation of what Cayenne EV owners will see in the real world in similar conditions, which we'll talk about once I get in the car. So with that said, we're just about ready to take off. The 3 of us are hopping in our respective cars. We have Porsche representatives in the vehicles to talk to us about the vehicle, which you're going to see really soon. We're going to talk to Porsche reps while we're driving and see exactly how far the Cayenne EV will go at roughly 70 miles an hour in the conditions that I'll describe in a few minutes. So let's get into it. All right, so I'm out on 10 East, heading towards the desert, cruising in the Cayenne at 70 miles an hour. I'm here with Marco Schwerbeck from Porsche and also another PCNA colleague in the back, but I'll be talking to Marco most of the time here today. Before we get into it, first of all, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about this range test because it's different than the range tests that I typically do. I typically do 70 mile an hour highway range tests, and I control as many variables as I can. I do them on New Jersey Turnpike where there's no elevation change. I try to pick days where there's not a lot of wind, where the temperature is just right. But out here, because this was such a special occasion, we have a set course. The day was the day, although the weather's actually pretty good out here today. We're in the 70s already. It's going to probably get up to about 80 degrees. So pretty good range weather. However, the course we're on is anything but flat. We started off at an elevation of about 1,200 feet, and we're going to climb up to like 2,600 feet. So we have about a 1,400 elevation climb, and then we go down to sea level, and then we climb back up to 900 feet, I think, or actually 1,700 feet, before going down to 900 feet and then turn around and come back. So that's going to have an effect on the Cayenne. We're not going to see the consumption rate that we would see if we were on, let me fix this now, a flat surface. So I would speculate, after looking at this map of the elevation that we're going to be going here today, I'll probably be able to go at least 20 miles farther if I was on flat ground with the Cayenne. So we're going to take that into consideration. We're in the climb right now, and I can tell you up until the point where we started to climb, I had a 3.1 mile per kilowatt hour consumption rate, which is similar to Macan EV when I did the 70 mile an hour highway range test. I was surprised we were doing so well at 70 miles an hour. But now that we're in the middle of this monstrous climb, we're down to 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So this 1,400 foot elevation climb is taking its toll on the Cayenne. And let me get over here because I want to pass this truck and stay at 70 miles an hour. We're trying to maintain 70 miles an hour. It's been a little challenging, but for the most part, I've been at 70 miles an hour, and I actually have a recording of the speedometer that I'll be able to put in the video later on, so you'll be able to see exactly how much of this trip we did at 70 miles an hour. So, Marco, listen, thanks for doing this. I appreciate the opportunity to have me, Mack, and Kyle be the first 3 Americans outside of Porsche to drive this vehicle on U.S. soil. My first question for you is, Porsche does so well, in my opinion, with efficiency, considering it's such powerful vehicles. Every time I do a range test with a Porsche, it far exceeds its EPA range rating. It's the only manufacturer that every time I drive it at a 70 mile an hour range test, it beats the EPA range rating by anywhere between 9% and 15%.
Yeah.
What's the secret sauce?
Oh, there are not the one secret sauce. Maybe the one secret sauce is we're doing the best and the best engineering on the efficiency, but there are a lot of parts to get the complete vehicle in this efficient car. So let's start maybe at the thermal system. For each car, we're doing the best on the thermal system. So it's the Cayenne, as you mentioned, it's a bigger car. So we have to do more improvement on the thermal system. Also on the battery system. A
bigger battery too. It's got 113 kilowatt hour. That's
yes.
The biggest battery you have in any of your electric vehicles.
That's right, but even in the same space as the other batteries.
Okay. Well, the cells are they're getting more advanced. You're able to get better energy density.
Advanced, and we're going more on the edge, more on the technical edge.
So this has different cells than the other vehicles?
That's a different cell. It's the biggest cell we ever developed for the car. For example, we have, coming from the Taycan, we have more than 300 cells in the car. Mm-hmm. We have these cells in 33 modules, and we put the modules in one battery pack. Mm-hmm. So in the Macan, we're doing the next step. We have 12 modules in the battery pack. Mm-hmm. And now the next step, doing for efficiency and space efficiency, we do have only 6 modules in the Cayenne EV.
Okay, in this large 113, it's 113 kilowatt hour is gross capacity.
That's right.
Usable is what, 108, I think?
108, that's right. Yeah. 108, it's, to be precise, it's 17.8, mm-hmm. but sum up, it's 108. Yeah, that's right.
Very good. So, another thing that you always seem to do extraordinarily well is charging, and I guess that goes back to what you just mentioned, is thermals.
Yeah.
What can we expect charging wise with the Cayenne? Now the Taycan can charge 10 to 80% in, I know Porsche says 18 minutes, but I've tested it a few times and it actually does it in 16 minutes.
Yeah.
Now this battery's bigger.
Yeah.
It's about 10% bigger, almost 10% bigger than the Taycan battery. So
yeah, you're right. It's more. Sorry.
What are we going to see? What is Porsche going to say that this charges 10 to 80% with?
That it's very, very crazy. We're going about 15 minutes, 15 seconds.
That's nuts. That's
really nice.
For a battery pack with over 100 kilowatt hour usable. 70% of that is 72 kilowatt hours, something like that. Yeah. And then there's always charging losses. So you're going to have a charging station dispense 80 kilowatt hour around with the losses in 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes, 15, and we will announce the 60 minutes, 10% to 80%, because it's of the regulation. You have to sum up to the next full minute. Mm-hmm. So we will go with 60 minutes, but in real it's 15 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah, and well, that's what I found with Macan and Taycan. I was able to charge both of those vehicles faster than what you say it will charge at. Yeah. And the peak charging rate on this is 400 kilowatts.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So, but you have to find a 400 kilowatt charger, which are being installed now, particularly the Alpatronic HYC 400s, which a lot of charging infrastructure companies are using. Iona, even Electrify America is starting to use it. Mercedes network uses it.
Really?
And those are solid at 400 kilowatts.
So there are four, and we can even use more because the 400 kilowatt charging lots from the Alpitronic you mentioned, they have 500 amperes. So we can use more than 500 amperes. So if there can be a peak performance in the Alpitronic up to 600 amperes, for example, we can use even more so that you can see up to 400 kilowatts for sure. And maybe if it's possible from the infrastructure, you will see a little bit.
That's great. And this again is an 800 volt architecture.
That's right.
The interesting thing, I remember when I did the first Taycan drive way back in, was it 2019? I forget when the first drive was over in Germany. I remember talking to a Porsche engineer, and what he said was, because I asked him, are all Porsche vehicles going to be 800 volt architecture? And he said, not necessarily. He said, it depends on the use case. He said, I can see an instance where we might want to use a 400 volt architecture. It depends on the expected performance of the vehicle. But now every vehicle that's come out has been 800 volt architecture. Is that going to be the plan? Do you think that you're pretty much dialed in with 800 volt, or could we see a 400 volt architecture Porsche at some point in the future?
We're offering in the cases both still now, because we have the opportunity to put the 800 volt system into 400 volt systems. So you can go for a Tesla, not only at the supercharger, you can go to the 400 volt, and we can split the battery and the architecture in 2 times.
Like the Macan. Yeah, so that actually is a 400 volt architecture. It is. But when it charges, it's 800 volt.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually should have phrased it differently. I should have phrased the question of, could you see you offering, it just straight 400 volt, not having a split pack with 800 volt charging, or do you think you're always going to want that charging performance and have it 800 volt?
I think in the reason of efficiency, it's the best way to go with 800.
And Porsche is a premium brand. The customers expect a premium experience, and that's not just performance, which kind of before this electric era, Porsche meant performance and also the driving experience, how it's connected to the road, and also, people wanted to sit in a premium environment. You need all that with electric vehicles, but you need more. Now you need range and you need charging performance, because that is like right up there with the driving performance.
Absolutely.
And you're at the top of the game as far as this side of China. Now we know there's some pretty wild things going on in China now with the advanced megawatt charging systems and so forth. But for anything over here and in Europe, the US and in Europe, you're pretty much doing it better than anybody so far.
Thanks.
And that's something that I appreciate, being a bit of a charging nerd.
And so you will see, or you will have noticed, we're doing big steps on the charging power and the charging, the charging comfort by the customer, from the Taycan and the Macan, and now to the Cayenne. We're going up to 400 kilowatt. Even it's a bigger car, so you don't have to miss something. Even if it's a BEV or it's a bigger BEV, no, it's still a Porsche, and our customer expect, and they will get all they know from the past, and there is no, we say German, there's no Verzichtsmodell. You do not have to say, okay, it's a BEV, it's a Cayenne, even bigger, and so I can use this not and this not, and that's okay for me. No, you will have all the features, even more. It doesn't depend how big is the car, how much is the consumption. We're doing it on efficiency and a lot of measures to get that there's nothing missing for the customer.
Yeah, and I know this is a driving event for range test, but if you know me, you know I have to talk about charging, which is paramount to me always. And there's another thing that you're doing with Cayenne that I'm really interested in, and I know we can't really talk a lot about it because you haven't revealed a lot of details yet, but you're going to offer inductive charging, and hopefully we'll be able to do some sort of a deep dive technical review of that at some point in the future. I look forward to that, but just 30,000 foot level discussion here. Could you talk a little bit about maybe why you feel that this is something that Porsche customers might want?
Yes, sure. We showed the system at the International Automotive in the EIA at Munich these days, and I think it's the easiest and most comfortable way for the customers. You know it from your cell phone or from other devices. You put it on the charge. You don't have to plug it in or anything. So it's the easiest and comfortable way. So it will be as easy to charge a cell phone as charging the Cayenne EV. So you can drive on the conductive ground plate, and you have to do nothing. No plug in, no put the cable out of something, getting your hands maybe dirty. You just get on the charging plate, and the charging will start automatically.
Yeah.
And speaking of driving on the plate, you don't have to practice a lot and have to look for the ground plate. Now you will be guided and lined up. Additionally, on our park assistant, the customer knows still our parking assistant, and in the existing parking assistant, we put on the function for the wireless charging, conductive charging, and you will be guided by lines to the target. So it's pretty easy to charge your car by doing nothing, just parking and leaving.
Yeah. Well, I've never found it difficult to plug in my EV, but I understand there are people that would like to be able to just pull in their garage, hop out and walk in their house, not even touch a connector or do anything. Yeah. That's a premium experience, and again, Porsche is a premium brand, and it appears that you're going to really be the first ones to bring an inductive charging method to market on their production vehicle and widely make it available.
Yeah.
So that I'm looking forward to checking that out. All right, getting back to the range test now. We are at 85%. So we've only used 15% of the battery. Actually, 86%. I thought it said 85%.
Yeah, it's 86.
And we've already gone 50 miles.
Yeah.
So, and we've been maintaining 70 miles an hour pretty well here today. So we're tracking more than 300 miles at this point.
For sure, yeah.
So what I will do is I'm going to check back in when we're at 75% state of charge. I always check in when I do my range tests every quarter of the range test at 75%, 50%, 25%, and then at the end. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to check back in when we're at 75% state of charge. We'll see how far we've gone at that point. But I'm encouraged because we're in a climb, and we're still, tracking over 300 miles, which is good news for future Cayenne EV owners. State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos. All right, so we're checking in at 75% state of charge. A quarter of the range test is over, and we went 98 miles. now the consumption rate is 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's gone up. We were actually up to like 3.7 for a while because we crested that mountain that we climbed, and then we went down the mountain. But now we're going back up a 1,700 foot climb. So now my consumption rate's dropping down. But I can't believe we went nearly 100 miles. Well, it's at 100 miles now, and we're at 74% state of charge. Now, Porsche has said they're expecting to have an EPA range rating of around 320-ish, I think. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but right around there. Marcus, are we going to go 450 miles here today?
That would be no, I don't think so. That's really too much. It's a really
that's nuts. You know, I mean,
it's so crazy.
Yeah, so I can't explain it. I was thinking maybe the terrain, the fact that we went up and down, but that should hurt us more than help us.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of range tests. Frequently, I get more range in the first quarter of the range test than I do in the other quarters. So I'm assuming that's going to be what happened here. I asked you if you were certain the battery state of health was set correctly, like, you know, maybe because it's a prototype.
Yeah.
We really are down to the 68% when it's reading 75, but you said no, that's dialed in, the state of charge is correct.
Yeah, the state of charge is correct, yes. As I mentioned, we did the last 10 days extensive test drives with a main topic on the state of health, maintenance, and we are absolutely right and sure we are on a good way with the state of charge in the battery. It's complex, but we are right.
Well, if we get anywhere near that consumption for the other 3 quarters, it's going to be a super long day here. Now, this is a large. It's a full-size SUV. You know, I mean, this is much bigger than a Macan.
That's it.
So, and the battery is bigger than a Macan, but not that much bigger. So, I can't imagine us getting more than, my thought process was 300 to 320, somewhere around there, maybe 330 or 40. And I knew that this terrain was going to hurt us, not help us, because we're going up and down mountains. I think on flat terrain, if the EPA range rating on this is 320, I would expect to do 350 because Porsches always outperform their EPA when I do my 70 mile an hour range test. But here we are driving through the mountains, and you know, we're pacing over 400 miles. So I assume that at the next check-in at 50%, the things are going to start to correct themselves, and you know, we're not going to go 98 miles from 75% to 50. If we go 80, I think would be lucky. Yeah. So well, that's what we'll do. We're going to keep driving. We'll check in when I'm at 50%. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about powertrain and batteries and stuff like that.
Yeah, we will.
Once we're at 50% state of charge.
Perfect.
So we stopped at our turnaround, and all 3 vehicles are parked over here. Got the last one down there. Crazy thing is we're all at 59% state of charge. So, I mean, I know many people might say, well, you should be. It's the same car and you drove it the same amount of distance. But we know with range tests, that's not how it always works out.
I figured it out, Tom.
Kyle figured it out.
Did we tell you about this?
Okay, no, not yet.
We are driving 70 GPS, and you're driving 70 indicated.
Kyle is angry that I should be last place here because I have the only Cayenne with the off-road package, and I should have a 10 to 15 mile range penalty, except we pull in here and we're all equal.
We're all equal.
So he's trying to figure out what exactly is the difference.
I'm a mile an hour faster.
So you locked in at 71.
71.
I didn't do that like I usually do on this
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
it's not like a certified range test that we're doing. But I locked it in at 71.
You locked it in at 71. So,
yeah.
But how you got here like a minute before me? How long did you get?
3 or 4 minutes.
3 or 4 minutes before me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I tell you what I'm going to do, just to be totally fair to Kyle. I'm going to lock it in at 71 for the rest of the trip.
And then
How's that?
See. Yeah.
Although we're not quite at 50%. No. So what I'm going to do is drive to 50% at 70, and then turn it to no, that still won't even make up.
You got to go to 72.
Yeah.
But then air drag is exponential.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
I'm going to take that mile an hour advantage over Kyle because I started out with the disadvantage of having the off-road package. So that should have been my handicap anyway.
There you go.
So there we go. All right, we'll check in when we're done. And Mack, Kyle, and I will all have a little conversation about where we're all at and our thoughts on the Cayenne. Because I was talking and I was like, oh, wait a minute.
So this is bad news for Kyle, though, because that means he's covered the shortest distance, and we're still all at the same. So he's in first, I'm in second, and you're in last.
Well, we've been maintaining 70 better than you guys, is what I heard. We've been getting stuck behind less trucks.
Well, I'm happy with that. Being tied at SOC.
That's amazing.
At the 50, it's not less than 50% point And you know, I really expected that I'd be behind you guys with the off-road pack. So
Have you checked what the route planner thinks you'll get to the hotel with?
yeah, right now 6%.
Ours says 4. Yeah.
Mine says
Haven't looked. Okay.
yeah, mine says 6.
The route planner
we
seems
just said
really
it in.
good, by the way.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Really
At first it said 20%, and I was like, we can't. We're gonna have to spin around. But then we checked the route, but it had a stopping to
Oh, to
charge
charge.
because we had it set at not
Minimum SOC.
Minimum
Yeah.
SOC 20%.
Yeah.
So we slid it down to 2%, which is the end,
Yeah.
and then it came up 6%. So right now it's saying 6%.
Okay, well that'll be
So-
interesting. So let's see what we're all at when we get back there. Okay, no
let's do
time
it.
for delay. Time to roll.
All right, we are halfway home. We're at 50% state of charge.
That's right.
We've gone 187 miles, and we have a 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour consumption rate. Now that miles per kilowatt hour consumption rate has been going up and down wildly during this test. I'm not used to seeing that. When I do my range test, it's always on a
On the
flat.
flat.
But because we're climbing 1,600 feet, we're going down 1,200 feet, up 700 feet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm watching it go up and down. So it depends on where we are when I hit the 50% and 25% and 75%, whether we just went down a hill or up a hill, that determines the consumption rate. So it's going to be interesting when we're done, but we're at 3.2 now. Now 187 miles at 50% would mean that we should be able to go, if we could go the same amount of distance in the second half, 370 something miles. But we're not going to get that. And even the vehicle knows we're not going to get that. It has the remaining miles of 144.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we're going to end up around 330-ish, somewhere around there.
Nice.
Oh, now we have a nice, the La Raza motorcycle gang is passing
Whoa.
us. At least that's what they have on their leather, La Raza. So
Yeah.
anyway, still, that even if we end up around 320ish, that's fantastic considering the course that we're on. This is a super challenging course for a range test.
Yeah.
This isn't how I usually do them, but this is real world. This is what people drive. So that was great that we were able to do this in an environment that I don't usually do my range tests. And what'll be really interesting is when I get one of these eventually down the road, when the production versions are out, and I do it on my course, I'll be able to compare a strict 70 mile an hour range test on flat terrain with one done out here.
Yeah.
So that'll be really cool. Now, temperature wise has been great. It's 84 degrees now. So we were in the low 70s when we started. We got up to 84. So temperature's great. Wind is great. Wind is less than 5 miles an hour. So other than the fact that we're going up and down these huge elevation changes, this is a great day for range. So, you know, we've set the Cayenne up for doing as well as it can, provided this course that Porsche plotted out for us. But let's talk a little bit about the battery, because we were talking about it while the camera was off, and you seem to be very proud of the improvements that Porsche continues to make on its battery pack. And it's funny how you said, you know, you talked about how this new engineering is better than Taycan, and you said, but you know, Taycan's great, you know, which it is, but that's the way it should be. You should continue to
Yeah.
make improvements in battery.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the battery cooling, which is unique to the Cayenne, to any of the Porsche EVs.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, as I said, we're trying to pushing the limits, and so going better and better and better, and doing not only evolution on the battery, we're doing revolution on each step to getting better and improve the range and the efficiency. And so we put the first time not only a bottom cooled battery in this car, we put an additional cooling area and another
plate on top, right?
on
Yeah.
top. So we have a top and a bottom cooled battery systems, so that we can cool down, or even in the cold temperatures heat up.
Yeah.
So in some, to condition the battery from the top and from the bottom to get the hot spot optimized, cooled or heated, what the car or the passenger needs at the situation.
Which helps improve range, efficiency, and also charging speeds, you know, having the battery at the right temperature.
For sure.
So Cayenne has the first time for Porsche, it's got 2 cooling plates, one on bottom of the pack, one on top of the pack. But that's not the only difference that this pack has
That's right.
over the other vehicles.
Yeah.
It only has 6 modules,
That's
you were
right.
telling me, which is unusual, and the modules aren't in a battery tray.
No, that's, and
So let's talk a little bit about that.
yeah, that's what I think, or what I said with the revolution.
Yeah.
We killed the state-of-the-art concept because of the efficiency, also the efficiency of the space the batteries needed. So we put away the cell in a separate box and put that box in another box, and then put it in a battery box and put the battery box in the car box.
Yeah.
So that's too much overlay.
Yeah.
So we engineered it back, and so we put, as you said, we put a cell in the module and put the module to the car. The module is tight, the module is rigid, the module is integrated in the car for stiffness, also for the crash path and the load capacities through the car. So it's a full integrated cell module with no overhead, and the cell just get as much material as it needs, and we improved it completely in the car.
So it's a structural part of the car.
It's absolute structure.
Now, how about if a module fails? Can you replace it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so designed you can replace each of the modules in the case of it's needed in the customer case.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And these are pouch cells.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
These are pouch cells, and it's the largest form factor, I think, of any cell that you've used on any vehicle.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the same pouch cell, the same technology as in the Taycan, but even more improved. There are bigger one, there are more powerful, and we're putting also the cells to the edge, to the possibility, and so they are the biggest pouch cells ever been built and ever integrated in a car.
Okay. Well, listen, keep improving. I'm going to keep driving, and we'll check in when we're at 25% state of charge, and we'll see how far we've gone at that point.
Looking forward.
All right, we are at 25% state of charge now. We've gone 269 miles, and we still have a quarter of the battery left.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good showing for the Cayenne so far. We're at 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, the vehicle's saying we have 82 miles of estimated range remaining. We've been going about 90 miles for each quarter, so I'm guessing that they're hiding some low-end buffer in there, but that'll still put us at 350-ish miles.
Yeah.
So super, actually I have to get over here, super showing so far. 350 miles will be fantastic if we can get close to that. It looks like we're gonna. You know, we talked a little before about the battery, but aero plays a big role in electric vehicle efficiency. Well, any vehicle efficiency, you know, like your gas mileage depends also on your aero. But with EVs, we focus a lot more on this. I have to get over here. Let me see. No, I'm good. With EVs, we focus a lot more on efficiency. So why don't we talk a little bit about what you guys did to make the vehicle as aerodynamic as possible? Because this is a big vehicle, and we're averaging over 3 miles per kilowatt hour at 70 miles an hour. That's not an easy feat.
No, that's right. As you said, it's even more important that a big car as the Cayenne. So we did a lot on the aerodynamics, and we have active aerodynamic parts, not only at the back of the car where we used to it and know it. We have, for example, also at the front of the car aerodynamic parts, so we can open and close automatically the inlets for the fan from the thermal system.
We talked about that when we stopped before, about the active louvers in the front, that they only will open if the battery calls or if something in the vehicle calls for cooling.
That's right.
Anything over 15 kilometers an hour, they're going to close.
Yeah.
You know, that absolutely is going to be helpful. But that's not the only thing you guys did. You streamlined the rear of the vehicle too, right? To increase aero efficiency.
Yeah, that's right. In some of our derivatives, at the turbo, for example, we have the so-called side plates. They're going automatically out, and it often a wider car and put the CV. We call it Abriskante in Germany.
Okay.
Maybe I'm missing the German word at this stage. It's nice from you. So that it's farther and further away from the car for the better aerodynamics. So you you longer up the car like the racing car.
Now we're not driving the he's talking about the turbo trim. This is the base trim that we're driving here today with the off-road package, which gives us a little bit of a different front end than the other two Cayennes that Kyle and Mack are driving. And we're actually at a range disadvantage because of that, because there's going to be about a 10 to 15 mile range penalty with this package. But we're still doing good. We're holding our own against them in this range challenge, I guess. It wasn't supposed to be. Porsche didn't build it as that, but of course Kyle and Mack and I are like, we're going to see who can go farthest. So I think we're holding up pretty well, considering we're at a disadvantage from the get-go because of the design of the vehicle. So all right, we're going to keep driving. We're going to check back in when we are getting close to the end, and maybe turn the camera on when I've got a mile or so to go to get to the hotel. And then we'll talk about, what we thought the results are and if we thought we did a good job. I think that the Cayenne is doing remarkably well here, considering the estimated EPA range is going to be about 320. We're going to crush that. We're going to go at least, in my estimation, 20 miles farther. We might go 30 miles farther, and at 70 miles an hour, and on this challenging course going up and down, which I know I've talked about it throughout this range test. But now let's take a look at it, because I've mapped out the range test topographically and the elevations. So, oof.
Oh, that was close.
That was close. The motorcycle just split lanes between us, and man, he almost kissed our rearview mirror. But let's take a look at exactly how much elevation we gained and then lost throughout this range test. So we started out in Rancho Cucamonga, and the elevation there is 1,200 feet. We drove up to 2,600 feet to Beaumont, which was a 1,400 foot elevation climb. And after that, we went all the way down to sea level in Desert Palm. We then climbed 1,700 feet up to Cactus City, and then about 900 feet descending down to the desert center. That's where we stopped and got out of our cars, talked a little bit, and then turned around and headed back. So as you can see here, this is not the optimal course for a range test at all. And the Cayenne is doing a great job, even with this challenging course that Porsche laid out. All right, Marcus, we're off the highway. And the Cayenne did fantastic today. Let me tell you, I am so impressed. No, this is turn only, it's not lane. No, it's not. No, so we're off the highway. We're driving to the hotel where we're all meeting up. We got off the highway at, I think it was 248 miles, and we were at just 4% state of charge. So I figured we'd circle the hotel a little bit, bleed it down a little bit more, and get it up over 350 miles, which we have. We're at 352 miles now, and we're 1 mile from the hotel. We're at 2% state of charge. I think we could actually squeeze out 260, but the guys don't want me to brick the battery, which is totally understandable. Oh, no. So we're going to end at 353, I believe. It looks like it with the 1.1 miles. We're at 352, so we're going to end right around 353. A great showing. Congratulations and a good job on this. This is a big,
so much.
Heavy SUV. And while it's a big battery, 107 or almost 108 kilowatt hour usable, that's not a monster sized battery when you look at some of the competitors that have really big battery packs in their long range SUVs.
Yeah, you're right.
So, you guys did a good job with this. And besides the range, this has been a comfortable, quiet, smooth drive. You did a great job with NVH, and I'm impressed. And this isn't even the production version. You still have to do some tweaks and so forth with it. But, for that kind of range and this kind of comfort and the performance that you get with it, although I wasn't able to really juice it much in this. I think when I get one on loan, I'll see exactly a little bit more about the driving dynamics. We didn't get too much of a feel on driving dynamics, just cruising at 70 miles an hour. But are you happy with the results?
Oh, yes. And thank you so much for having me, Tom. It was a nice drive. I'm really happy. I'm proud to be with you on this seat and get this get this experience and this mileage. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a long day. We've been driving, it says here, for 5 hours and 44 minutes so far. So we got up nice and early and started first thing. I've got a few hours that I can relax. Then I got to get on a plane and head back to Jersey. But this has been a really fun day. I want to thank you and thank Porsche for inviting me and Kyle, and Mack to be the first people to drive the Cayenne on U.S. soil outside of the company. That's a good honor, and I appreciate it. I know there's a lot of people out there that you guys could have invited, so I want to. I think I turn here. Yes. And here we are. We're in the hotel. So we are pulling up, and it is 353.0. It just clicked over to 353. And let's see, both guys are here. So Kyle and Mack have already arrived. We'll see what their final results are. And there's no parking spot here. So I don't know if I should pull in the middle here. I'll stop it here. Okay, so I'm going to get out. We're going to talk to Kyle and Mack. I want to get their opinions, put it in park, and then I'll do a wrap up, and we'll talk a little bit about the results. So it's great results. Congratulations. And by the way, it's saying we have an estimated 4 miles of remaining range when 2% state of charge. Let me get a picture of that. Oh, and the consumption rating that we're finishing up with is 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. If you do the math, this has 107 kilowatt hour usable battery pack. It plays out. That's where we should be after driving this much. So let me take a picture, and then we'll hop out and talk to the guys. I want to get their impressions on the range test. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, we are all back here. It's a long day. We drove for about 6 hours, guys. I finished up 353 miles, 2% state of charge. We are all clustered right in there. I mean, within a couple miles of each other. Kyle, what did you finish up with?
Yeah, I went the least far, actually. 344, 343 something, but with 4% remaining.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, I was a mile an hour quicker than you guys were.
Yes.
Which there's a little speed discrepancy there, but it's all good.
We should have talked about that before we started, because when
Yes.
Kyle and I do our range test, we always set the speedometer to GPS.
Yes.
Always. For this range test, I didn't check with Kyle. I assumed we were all just going to set it to speedometer because it was a Porsche range test. So I set it to speedometer. I didn't do GPS. Kyle set it to GPS like we always do.
Right.
So he was going 1 mile an hour faster than us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we've learned it doesn't really it makes definitely a difference in terms of time. So it's incentive if you're a driver to drive as fast as you can on the road, because you'll get there quicker. We already knew that.
And this is a charging beast,
This
like
is-
all Porsches.
Of course. But the range and the efficiency was good. So I was 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour.
So was I.
yeah.
So was I.
It's,
We all finished with 3.3.
and who would have thought? You take the same car, same road, same conditions, we got the same result, essentially.
Yeah.
What we really learned is the Cayenne is a 350 mile plus highway capable vehicle. And that, like Tom mentioned, even though we start and end at the same elevation, there's still a lot of heat loss going up and down those hills. And very, very impressive from my side, considering it's a small battery.
Kyle, I think on flat terrain, smallish.
Yeah, 108 kilowatt hours. A Rivian
Yeah.
does about the same with a 144 kilowatt hour pack.
Yeah, but I think, Kyle, when we get these on flat roads and do our 70 mile an hour range test, which won't be till next spring or early summer probably, I think 370's in reach.
With the arrows, I think so.
I
as
think
well.
370's in reach, so we'll have to see about that. Okay, Mac,
Yeah.
what'd you finish up with?
I did 351.9 with 3% remaining. I was, like Tom said, to 70 miles per hour Porsche speed, although I think I hit a little more traffic because of the way things went around. But I was pretty impressed by that. Also 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. I would also add that I think the range estimation in general on this was really good. It was very, very accurate, leaning a little bit towards giving you some wiggle room, which I like. And I also really like that was my first time using that curved screen infotainment system, which was
I really like that
that a
screen,
lot.
yeah.
I think I really like what Porsche's doing with the software. I think they're definitely taking a good step forward on that. So overall, I'm excited to see, learn more about this car. We don't have all the details yet, but so far from what I'm seeing, this is definitely a 350 mile road trip car. And what I'm super excited for is, the Taycan is already an absolute charging monster. This, they're saying 400 kilowatts, but the fact that they're also cooling the battery from the top and the bottom means that I mean, they were already some of the best at managing the thermals of charging. I feel like this thing is going to.
Yeah.
They tend to underpromise and overdeliver,
I know.
as they probably will on range. So this, I'm very excited to get this hooked up to a charge test as well.
I can't wait. I think the 10 to 80 is going to be 15 minutes or less.
Yes. Yeah.
So, which is a monster. It's even better than Taycan with a bigger battery.
Yeah.
So, but it's got the better cooling, and you know, the Porsche just keeps trying to make things better and better.
And it's in the body style that people today actually buy, which
I mean,
love crossovers or hate them. This is what people want.
Pull into a parking lot. That's all you see.
Yep.
So, all right, Mac, thanks a lot.
All right,
and
good to see you,
I'll
Tom.
talk to you soon.
All right.
And well, if it looked like we were having a lot of fun there, your eyes weren't deceiving you. It was actually a really fun event. I do a lot of these driving events with different automakers, and some are better than others. This was a really fun event, and I want to thank Porsche for including me in it and allowing Kyle, Mack, and myself to be the first 3 people to drive the Cayenne Electric here in the US outside of the company. That was a nice honor. So what do you think? 353 miles. And you could see even what the other guys finished up with. We're all pretty tightly packed there. The Cayenne EV's legitimate 350 to 370 mile, 70 mile an hour vehicle for sure. I'm certain when I get that thing here on my course in New Jersey in good weather on flat terrain, I'm certain that I'm going to push 370, 375, maybe even 380. 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's pretty good average considering it's a decent sized SUV. So let's take a look at the summary of this range test by the numbers. All right, so from 100% down to 75% state of charge, I went 98 miles. And at that point, you may remember I was asking Marco if it's possible that the vehicle could do 400 miles in this range test. We were averaging 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour at that point. And then from 75% down to 50%, we drove 89.5 miles, and we're starting to come back down to earth. So we were at 187.5 miles driven when we were at 50% state of charge. And at that point, we were averaging 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. From 50% down to 25%, we drove 81.5 miles for a total of 269 miles, and we were still averaging 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. And then from 25% down to 2%, which is when I ended the range test, we drove 84 miles to finish up with 353 miles and a consumption rate of 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, and ending the range test at 2% state of charge with 4 miles of estimated remaining range. I'm sure I could have squeezed out 5 or 6 miles and ended up with 360 miles in this range test, but the Porsche folks did not want us to brick the cars, and we couldn't run them down to 0. But we did a good job at the end driving around a little bit for a few miles off the highway, and you know, that squeezed out the lead for me on this range test. Not that we were really competing, but we all kind of were competing on who would go the farthest and who would end up with the best consumption rate. We all finished up with 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. I happened to just drive a little bit farther because once we got off the highway, I drove around for a couple of miles and the other guys kind of just went right to the hotel. But in any event, this kind of proves that the Cayenne is going to be a really great range vehicle. And don't forget, I had a handicap. We mentioned this in the video. My Cayenne was the only one that had the off-road package. And Porsche is estimating that that off-road package is going to have a range penalty of between 10 and 15 miles. Now, the interesting thing was, after finishing this range test, even the Porsche folks were like a little taken aback by this. And they're like, you know, maybe we need to rethink. Maybe it's not going to have that much of an effect on the range because we all finished right in that same ballpark, you know, and we're all driving about the same speed. Just Kyle was going a mile an hour faster. That would have a marginal effect on this. But I was surprised at how much of the range test I could manage 70 miles an hour at. Better than 98% of this drive was done at 70 miles an hour. There were very few times where we had a slow up. At the very end, when we were going back to the hotel, what I did was we were going to end up at the hotel at like 10% state of charge or something like that. So I got off at an exit, looped around, and then drove, I think, 5 or 10 miles, and then came back and drove the rest of the way. Once we got back to where I got off the first time, traffic was starting to build up a little bit. So there was a few miles that we drove at 60 miles an hour, maybe even 55 miles an hour, but it was just for a couple of miles. I mean, it would have such a small effect on the range test. The rest of the way, I was driving 70 miles an hour pretty much the whole time. So this was a legitimate 70 mile an hour highway range test, which at the beginning, I didn't think I was going to be able to maintain. I thought for sure there'd be traffic and we would just, compare each other's results on the same course. But this was a legitimate 70 mile an hour highway range test, except for the fact of that elevation change. So, and there was a lot of elevation change. So I think when I get this thing on flat ground, I'm going to do 20 or 30 miles more for sure. And that means that the Cayenne EV is going to be an incredible road tripper because of the fact that it has such long range and it charges so well. It's going to be perhaps the best charging electric vehicle on the market here in the US when it comes out. There's no other vehicle that can charge from 10% to 80% in 15 minutes. With a large battery. You have to understand, this is a 108 kilowatt hour battery pack. So that means you're adding about 80 kilowatt hour in 15 minutes. And that's like a 3C charging rate. So, between the long range and how fantastic it charges, it's going to be a great road tripping car. All right, well, that's pretty much all I have here on the Porsche Cayenne EV range test. Had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys had a little bit of fun watching the video. And don't just watch my video. Head over to Out of Spec and watch Kyle's video on the same event, and also to Inside EV's YouTube channel and watch Mack's video on this range test. And each one probably has its own perspective and views and all that. So I think they're all worth watching if you've got enough time to watch these videos. I know this is a very long video for me. I am certain Kyle's video is going to be even longer. Mack will probably edit it out and cut it. His will probably be the easiest to digest. But hey, if you stuck around and watched this whole video, you can watch the other ones too. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.